The Sims 4 has been around for more than a decade now. Yep, you heard that right, a decade. And throughout that time, it's managed to spark quite a handful of controversies. Some were minor things that blew up overnight online, while others were, well, a bit harder to ignore. So why don't we take a little flashback through some of them? Hello guys, this is Abi aka onlyabidoang. Yes, I've started using facecam since 11 videos ago, and today we're gonna be checking over 10 controversies The Sims 4 has faced over the years. Alright, enough about that, moving on. First, we go all the way back to the very beginning of The Sims 4's life. It's launched on September 2nd, 2014. Before release, the game was teased with some promising features, and when it finally got released, it did bring some improvements. Create Sim was more intuitive, build mode had more flexibility, Sims could multitask, emotions are here, and some more improvements. But the problems? Yeah, there were a ton, or more accurately, a ton of features missing from this entry compared to its predecessor. There were no swimming pools, no toddlers. Remember how babies would just grow up straight into a 9-year-old? No open world, no terrain manipulation, no color wheel, no story progression, no family tree, no cars, no burglars, no firefighters, no dishwashers, no repairmen, no pawns. Babies were literally objects that you couldn't carry around. The world map looked like this, and that's not even all of it. Someone even made a huge list documenting all the features missing from previous games. Yeah, players didn't find this impressive. Despite some of the new improvements, the game still felt empty that time. Even The Sims 3 had all of the missing things I mentioned when it first came out in 2009. Heck, The Sims 2 already had some of these features all the way back in 2004. The community wasn't happy about it. I thought people were overreacting about pools being removed, but this list is really insane. I'm not a huge fan of The Sims, but I'm still left speechless. What's the point of the game now with most of these features taken out? Over time, EA managed to bring these missing features into The Sims 4 in the form of free base game updates, slowly. Ghosts came 1 month after release, pools followed 2 months later, the family tree returned after 5 months, dishwashers, repairmen, and a better looking world map took about a year, toddlers came back after 2.5 years, terrain tools were added 4 years later, firefighters were added 6 years later, the pawn tool and story progression were added 7 years later, infants, basically updated babies, were added 9 years later, and burglars, almost 11 years later. Yet even now, we're still stuck with loading screens between lots, even when visiting your next door apartment neighbor. Still no color wheels for creative sim items and objects, still no functional cars. It still feels like we're waiting for the game to finally catch up to its own legacy. Let's jump ahead a few years. The year is 2017 and toddlers had just been added to the game earlier that year. But since they were introduced much later into the game's life cycle, they didn't have much content to begin with, especially in packs. So the Sims team announced a new stuff pack dedicated for toddlers, Toddler Stuff. The trailer, released on August 15, 2017, receives a somewhat positive reaction. There were still some fair complaints though, mostly from players who felt this content should have been included in the Parenthood game pack that came out just a month earlier. Then the pack released a week later on August 24th, and that's when the real problem started. One of the new gameplay objects in this pack was a toddler ball pit. Sounds pretty fun, right? But once players saw it in-game, it looked like this. Yeah. The texture was shockingly bad. Instead of a pit filled with colorful 3D plastic balls, it was just a flat image of colorful circles with a few plastic balls awkwardly sticking out. It looked very cheap and unfinished, and the community made sure their opinions were heard. Man, I still don't understand the mindset of keeping the ball pit in the game when it looks like that. How disappointing. The ball pit looks awful. Looks like something out of an early PS2 horror game. They even have the nerve to feature this in a promotional video on Twitter, which of course was met with instant backlash in the replies. Even modders stepped in and created a custom remodel that looked miles better within days of release. The backlash was bad enough that EA had to respond a month later. On September 12, 2017, a new game update came out where the ball pit was updated with improved textures. It now had more 3D plastic balls and a less flat appearance, which looks miles better. The Cats and Dogs expansion pack was pretty popular when it came out in 2017, even though it didn't include horses or small pets. So apparently, someone from the Sims 4 team thought that it would be a good idea to release an addition to that expansion. On March 6, 2018, they dropped the reveal trailer for my first pet stuff pack, and the reaction was not great. Players were rightfully upset because it was essentially marketed as a DLC for another DLC, since you needed the cats and dogs expansion to access some parts of its content. Okay, if this is a slap in the face to everyone who bought pets, I don't know what is. EA truly is a horrible company. Releasing DLC for your DLC is a new low. The first Cats and Dogs expansion should have already included all of these features, considering how expensive it was. Even many Sims YouTubers weren't impressed by this decision. It got so much backlash that the official trailer for the pack on the Sims YouTube channel was eventually set to private. You can still find articles that link to the original video, but if you click those links now, the video is gone. The only remaining uploads are from third-party channels like Xbox or PlayStation. The pack was then officially released on March 13, 2018. So, what's actually in the pack? As I said before, you can technically use it without owning cats and dogs, but some of the content won't be accessible. The new pet clothes become inaccessible, and the pet-related objects like pet beds and footballs can still be placed down, but they'll become unusable. The main new feature was the addition of a new small pet, rodents, which is kinda neat, but again it feels like something that should have been in cats and dogs to begin with. Some of the furniture in this stuff pack also existed purely to complete a set that started in the expansion. Honestly, the only standout things were the return of the rodent death from The Sims 1 and this cool looking aquarium coffee table that became popular among players. At one point in 2023, EA even made the pack free to claim for 2 months, possibly just a desperate attempt for Simmers to try it out. Let's just jump ahead to 2024. The first half of that year was pretty slow for The Sims 4. They only released one stuff pack, too many kits, and no major update around this time. In fact, the update released on February 27, 2024 alongside the Crystal Creation stuff pack may have been one of the worst updates yet. Out of nowhere, they added a shopping cart button. And that was pretty much it, aside from a few minor bug fixes. And what does this new button do, you might ask? It's basically a glorified ad. Yes, a dedicated button in your game, available all the time in live mode, just to promote other packs, as if having pack ads on the main menu wasn't already enough. And as expected, and rightfully so, the community wasn't happy about it. Remove the shopping cart button, it's so overstimulating. I hope the fan pushback is loud enough that they remove it. Absolutely obnoxious thing to put in, as if there isn't enough pack advertising. Which is sadly not the case, as this button is still here in this game as the time I'm recording this. And to make things worse, the button was buggy when it first launched, where it wouldn't stop blinking even if you've already clicked on it. So how did they respond? Did they remove the button or rethink the feature? Of course not. Instead, they released a hotfix the very next day just to fix the flashing issue. Oh, funny how they suddenly act fast when it comes to fixing bugs like this, huh? Please, we don't want you to fix the cart button, we want you to remove it. But like I said, it's still there today. And to be fair, since I own most of the packs in the game, I don't get any disruptive notifications from it. But when I tested it on another account with only the base game installed, I could see how it quickly became pretty invasive. 2020, the start of a pandemic. Probably one of the more depressing yet memorable year. I actually got COVID once when I was a medical student during my hospital rotations, and yeah, it was a terrible experience. Anyway, since everyone was stuck at home, people either played games or just tried to stay sane. The Sims 4 saw a bit of a boom during the time, and fans were waiting for the next big expansion pack. So, what did we get? The Sims 4 Eco Lifestyle Expansion Pack, announced on May 6, 2020. I remember watching the entire trailer during the premiere, and yeah, I wasn't very impressed. And I wasn't the only one. Just look at the like to dislike ratio from the reveal. It was still mostly positive with noticeable amount of dislikes, but I can't say the same to the unforgiving comment section. A lot of people felt like the eco theme was too similar to Island Living's conservationist aspect. Others thought it just didn't feel like a strong expansion pack concept. Looks very underwhelming for an expansion pack in my opinion. If 2020 couldn't get any worse, this pack just made this officially the worst year. Oh man, they really didn't know it was about to get even worse. I've never been this uninterested in a Sims expansion pack in my whole life, and that's saying something. And my favorite, there is no cars. Where's the pollution coming? Non-playable factories? Okay, that one got me there. But now that the pack is out, honestly, I think that it's somewhat decent gameplay-wise. It brings a good amount of new activities, and arguably more than an expansion pack literally themed around businesses and hobbies. The eco-footprint system is a cool concept, especially since it affects all worlds, though its actual impact feels pretty minimal. Still, I don't think eco-lifestyle was a great choice for the expansion pack theme. Some players like the aesthetics of the build and buy items though. As for the neighborhood action plan feature, yeah, not really a fan of that one either. All in all, the announcement and reveal of this pack definitely sparked a lot of controversy. Let's step a few months back, still in the year 2020. So, February 4th, 2000, the day the very first Sims game was released. Which means February 4th, 2020 marked the 20th anniversary of the Sims franchise. Naturally, players were speculating on what's EA gonna do to celebrate. Maybe a new Sims 4 update with nostalgic content from past games, a brand new world, a remaster of The Sims 1 or 2, or even a teaser for the next Sims installment? Then that day came. And what did we get? They added a new hot tub to the base game in an update. Yep, that's it. Well, that and a few new stereo tracks. And yeah, people weren't exactly thrilled. I mean, sure, it's something, but that's not the issue. See, if hot tubs were a new addition to the game, that would have been exciting. But the thing is, hot tubs were already included in a previous pack called Perfect Patio Stuff Pack, released back in 2015. And that was the only new gameplay feature in that pack, making the Stuff Pack not that unique anymore. Even this new hot tub uses almost the exact same model as the one from that pack, just with a roof slap on top. The reaction from the community? Pretty disappointed to say the least. I don't want to be that person, but is that it? I'm sorry, but one hot tub and 4 new songs isn't good enough for a 20th anniversary. Well, now I regret buying Perfect Patio stuff. Even other Sims YouTubers weren't impressed with this addition. Thankfully, The Sims 25th anniversary earlier this year didn't mess around. We got The Sims 1 and The Sims 2 re-released as Legacy Collections, a limited time in-game event that rewards you with a bunch of objects from past Sims games, an SDX drop with over 70 new items, and a major update that finally brought back burglars after almost 11 years. Yeah, they really cooked this time. The date is August 28, 2020, still during the pandemic, and the Sims community is still recovering from the eco-lifestyle fiasco. A new game pack had been teased through rumors before this date and players were speculating about what it could be. And then the trailer dropped, titled The Sims 4 Star Wars Journey to Batuu, a visual reveal trailer. Yep, that rumored new game pack, it was based on Star Wars. And this ended up becoming the most disliked Sims 4 trailer to date. You can probably imagine the uproar from Simmers across every corner of the internet. The Sims 4 Journey to Losing Customers. All we want is gameplay for babies, children, teens, and elders, yet this is what is delivered. Even Star Wars fans who played The Sims weren't on board. Star Wars is my first love, and I have absolutely no desire to even pirate this pack. It is funny how Star Wars fans and Sims 4 players just hate this. But perhaps the cherry on top was this particular tweet from one of EA account who had the audacity to tweet that Simmers everywhere are excited for this pack. Yeah, makes sense that this tweet got deleted to oblivion now. A few days later, the gameplay trailer was released and yeah, that one didn't do too well either, both in the like-dislike ratio and the comments. Anyway, the pack ended up releasing on September 8, 2020. So how's the community reception? Well, unlike Eco Lifestyle, it was still pretty negative, especially gameplay-wise. Batuu is a vacation world with no actual livable lots. Sure, it looks great, but in reality it's just a glorified Star Wars theme park. The quests that you can get are incredibly repetitive too. The lightsaber stuff, despite having some cool fighting animations, is extremely shallow gameplay-wise. There's no content related to the Force, no new skills, even lightsaber fightings are based on the fitness skill, and the alien creation parts are honestly a disgrace. I do like the faction system though, but that's pretty much the only thing I enjoyed. Some players did find the build by items decent, but still not worth it in my opinion. I actually made a full review of this pack if you wanna check it out. We're still in 2020. Yeah, like the rest of the world, this was probably one of the worst years for The Sims 4. On October 20th, they dropped the announcement trailer for the new expansion pack, Snowy Escape. This pack has a combined theme of snow-themed activities and Japan-inspired culture and aesthetics. The reception for the reveal trailer was actually pretty good. Most of the comments were supportive and hype for the pack. So what's the tea here? The controversy mainly came from Korean simmers. In the trailer, there was a scene where a sim was bowing in front of what looked like a Japanese shrine. And that sparked protests, especially among Korean simmers, because of the painful history between Korea and Japan during the occupation era. There was also a pattern on one of the kimonos in the trailer that resembled the rising sun flag, which is controversial due to its association with Japanese imperialism. All of this eventually led to a response from a sim guru stating that the bowing interaction and the offensive kimono pattern would be removed in the final release, as a way to respect Korean players. They even edited the reveal trailer to reflect these changes, where one scene was modified so the sim was now just standing and pondering at the shrine, while the other sim was shown wearing a different kimono. However, this change also drew complaints from other simmers, especially regarding the removed shrine bowing interaction. Some pointed out that it was simply a generic optional bow to a shrine and didn't reference history at all, and for a pack based on Japan, its removal felt like a missed opportunity to include authentic cultural details. This whole situation is complicated nonetheless. On one hand, you want to be respectful to these players whose histories are deeply affected by this. But on the other hand, the team's decision to remove that bowing interaction may feel like they watered down the cultural aspect that the pack was meant to celebrate. Even now, the interaction is still not in the game, and you can only perform a few limited interactions with the shrine. They've also removed the previously mentioned kimono pattern. Okay, we're finally leaving the year 2020. In 2022, The Sims 4 has just released a new trailer for a game pack. This time it was My Wedding Stories, which premiered on February 8, 2022. It's a game pack that's supposedly meant to enhance weddings in the game. And this time, there were two controversies that stemmed from this pack. The first was a decision made by EA just a day after the trailer was released on February 9th. The trailer and the cover art of this game pack prominently featured a same-sex couple. However, Russia has strict anti-LGBTQ laws, especially against what they define as promotion of same-sex relationships. Because of that, EA released a statement saying that the pack would not be released in Russia at all, due to the inclusion of the same-sex couple on the cover and to stay committed to their values. At first, many players appreciated this decision and praised EA for standing by their values. But soon after, many Russian simmers expressed disappointment and even protested the decision because they felt excluded. This was especially frustrating for LGBTQ players in Russia who felt erased by the move. Players from nearby countries such as Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Belarus, and others were also affected by the regional restriction, so it doesn't only affect one country. One Russian simmer, who is also a lawyer, posted a detailed thread on Twitter explaining why the decision was harmful. According to them, releasing the unaltered game was legally possible, because The Sims 4 is rated 18+ in Russia to begin with, which technically allows LGBTQ content under local law. So many saw EA's reasoning as misinformed and unnecessary. After this whole backlash, eventually EA reversed the decision. The pack was released globally with the same content and cover, although it was delayed by 6 days from February 17th to February 23rd, 2022. But what's ironic is that later, in March 2022, The Sims 4, along with all of EA's games, was completely removed from online storefronts in Russia and Belarus due to sanctions related to the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, which is pretty unfortunate. I'm not sure if that's still the case today, so feel free to correct me. That's just the first controversy related to this pack. The second one ties into the game content itself. Unlike the others that sparked controversy after its reveal, this time it was after it's released. The first trailer actually got some positive reception. Then came the official livestream from the Sim Gurus, where you could literally see the bugs happening in real time as someone from the team tried to play it live. Sims standing around, ignoring comments, wandering aimlessly. Yeah, people started getting very skeptical at that point. Then the pack was officially released on February 23rd, 2022, and the reviews started rolling in, and they weren't good. The pack is very buggy, especially during the wedding events, which are supposed to be the core feature. Sims won't gather around the wedding aisle properly, they sit on the wrong spots, they refuse to exchange vows, won't eat the wedding cake, and the list goes on. Someone even created a My Wedding Stories Bugs and Glitches mega thread on Reddit. Yeah, it was that bad. Are you gonna acknowledge that you released a completely broken pack? Nope, they failed with this pack. Absolute hell trying to play with it. I can't believe the Sims team actually managed to make Sims weddings worse. Some patches eventually helped a bit, like adding more specific options when telling Sims to gather or sit, but even that didn't fully fix things. The weddings from this pack work a little better nowadays, but there's still stuff that remains broken to this day. Like here, I can't order my guests to watch our first dance, for example. Yeah, the base game wedding is a much better option at this point. The final Sims 4 controversy that I want to talk about happened in the year 2021. In the March 23, 2021 base game update, a handful of personality traits were improved with things like new exclusive interactions, buffs, and other adjustments. I actually made a video listing all of these base game trait improvements back then. But here's the thing, the patch now didn't clearly explain what these changes were, so the players had to figure it out on their own. It wasn't until a month later that the developers released a follow-up article that finally recapped all the changes. Two of the updated traits were Hates Children and Noncommittal. Sims with the Hate Children trait would now feel happy when away from kids for a certain time and tense when around kid-related objects. The most notable change for both traits was that Sims with either of them would now always reject any try-for-baby attempts, no matter how close they were to them. That actually made sense considering the nature of those traits. However, the update also added a strange workaround. If a Sim with one of those traits was in a dazed emotional state, they would always accept a try-for-baby interaction, regardless of how they normally feel. Yeah, the implications of this were very uncomfortable, especially when you consider how it ties into the idea of consent, since the dazed emotion kinda represents a confused or impaired state. Simmers Online started calling it out in various social media. Who the hell at EA thought that the accept to have baby only if dazed was a good idea? This feels so uncomfortable since I associated a dazed moodlet to being drunk. Consent is important. Do better at The Sims. Eventually, the official Sims account responded to one of the tweets criticizing this choice and confirmed that this feature will be removed in the next patch. A few days later, that part of the article was quietly edited out, but I managed to capture the original version before it was changed. Now, instead of completely rejecting trying for baby requests, Sims with these traits have a higher chance of accepting it if they are in a great mood and have a very strong relationship with the other Sim. So those are 10 controversies that The Sims 4 has faced throughout the year, both well-known and more obscure. Honestly, there are still plenty of more that I'd like to cover, like the limited skin tone issues, for-rent expansion pack corrupting save files while still being actively promoted, the inconsistent hairstyle on the get-together cover, and many others. But I might save those for another video, if you'd like to see more topics like this. So, what do you think of these controversies? Do you agree with the backlash that followed these controversies, or how they handled them? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you everyone for watching this video, I hope you liked them, and if you do and want more Sims videos like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. See you later!